Today we're doing a live Q&A with Detective Kim LaBonte, who's in our Sex Crimes Unit. My name is John Bustecker. I am the storyteller here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. We don't do these live streams very often, so we're really excited that we could do this today. Today is Safer Internet Day, and Detective LaBonte here is an expert in that, I would say. And so Safer Internet Day is a global awareness campaign where the goal is to make it safer, the internet safer for especially kids and young adults, I'd say, right?
Yeah, it's to provide any kind of resources and knowledge to parents, teachers, children, to kind of get the word out there and really provide the resources to help them. Because not a lot of people know where to go to get this information.
Mm-hmm. And it's an important topic. It's a super important topic, especially if you're a parent, but also if you're a teenager or a child as well. We're going to go over some tips on how to stay safe and what to look out for. But before we get too far, I want to sort of introduce you a little bit. As I said, Detective Kim LaBonte, you're in the Sex Crimes Unit. How did you end up here at the Sheriff's Office?
Well, I moved to Orlando in 2008. I applied, thankfully got the job.
Mm-hmm.
I started on patrol and then went to robbery and then went to the Violent Crimes and Persons Unit. And then I actually started hearing about the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force and the things that they investigated and the online stuff, and just started going to trainings for them. And then the spot opened up. So
what was it about wanting to be on the Sex Crimes Unit that you wanted to do?
Children are a big passion.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like, the crimes against them, especially on the internet, and now the internet is so popular with everything we do. I wanted to be a part of helping that.
And you mentioned the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force.
Yes.
Explain what that is a little bit.
Well, for short, ICAC. It's nationwide. Mm-hmm. It consists of, I honestly don't know the number of how many, but I'm part of the Central Florida Task Force, which is run out of Osceola County. So there's agencies have different numbers of task force members. So I'm the one here at Orange County that investigates all of the cyber tips that come in through ICAC.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But if you're just joining us, this is Detective Kim LaBonte. She's in the Sex Crimes Unit. Today is Safer Internet Day. We're going to have we're doing a live Q&A with you. So if you have questions, put them in the comments below. We're going to get to those in a little bit. But so tell me, like, what's your job like? What's your day like?
Well, I get approximately 200 to 300 cases a month through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That is the nationwide, where if people send in tips, such as from social media, the public, they can report any kind of exploitation to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So I go through all those tips that come in through there.
And so when you're going through them, what are you looking for?
Well, like I said, a lot of social media platforms report things such as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, anything like that. And it's the child exploitation material that they feel meets the standard of that. So I will investigate it. And then from there, kind of do like the subpoenas and all of that. We also receive tips from the public that may include a child that they know or someone in the community that they think something's going on. Well, I'll investigate that also.
So your day-to-day job, are you online like all day, every day?
Pretty much.
Okay. All right. And I imagine that, you're probably looking at some pretty graphic things.
I do. Yes.
Yeah. And so how do they train you for that, or how do you get trained for that?
ICAC does provide classes that I go to. So I went and got certified in some of the things, and then they offer yearly trainings that you can go to.
And I know I've talked to some deputies here at the agency, and, they've, as you said, they've done, people do robbery, they do homicide, they do all kinds of jobs. One of the jobs they say they never want to do is your job.
Yes, I actually hear that a lot.
But I think they also say somebody has to do it, and it sounds like you have a passion for it because you want to make sure that those kids aren't exploited.
I do. I have a great passion for it, and like other people say, I don't want to do it, but it's so rewarding. If I can help one child out there know the risk factors to look for, know the red flags to look for, to help them not be exploited, and then also putting the people that are exploiting these children or downloading, put them in jail. That's very rewarding to me.
All right. So if you're just joining us, Detective Kim LaBonte and our Sex Crimes Unit. Today is Safer Internet Day. If you have questions for her, put them in the comments below. We're going to get to those in just a little bit. But I want to ask you, Safer Internet Day, why is this so important?
It's just important because, again, most educators, teachers, parents, kids, they don't know the resources to go to look for help with things. A lot of children that are dealing with any kind of issues online, they don't know where to go for help. So getting to the parents and getting to the kids with Safer Internet Days, giving them the resources, it just, I feel it'll help them maybe feel more comfortable in reaching out for any kind of help they need.
So when we talk about kids being exploited online, what exactly does that mean?
So one of the big things that Safer Internet Days is doing this year is a focus on sextortion. Now that's a crime where it's aimed towards children and exploiting them, where adults will threaten or coerce them for, nude images. It could possibly be that, money, threaten them for anything. So I've seen a huge rise in that. So it's really aiming towards that and giving the resources for parents to look for and for children to look for red flags of people trying to do this to them.
Now, are those cases where maybe somebody on the other end says, I have these images of you. If you don't give us, $5,000 or whatever, we're going to release them so all your friends get to see it?
Yeah, it's that, or they'll say, send me more, or I'm going to post this to all your friends. I'm going to send it to your parents, things like that.
So in a case like that, what would you tell, because I assume it would probably have to get to the level of the parent. Like, what would you tell the parent? How should they respond to something like that?
Keep the communication open and do not blame your child. A lot of the children that I'm seeing, they're terrified to tell their parents or to tell a teacher or even especially law enforcement about what's going on because they feel like it's their fault. It's not their fault. They're the child. Most of the times this other person's an adult. So that's how I feel. A lot of them are just scared to say anything about it, to get help for it.
And you mentioned some social media sites. Does this happen on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram?
Everywhere.
You said Discord?
Everywhere.
Okay.
Honestly, there's not one that I haven't seen.
And I think you said usually there's like a chat function where people can go back and forth.
Yeah, it's most of the social media platforms that have the chat features where someone from the outside can just message anyone. They'll find a profile, looks fun, they'll message them, find out they're a child, and then they'll start from there.
And I'm sure it starts slowly. Like there's probably, how you doing, and then it sort of evolves.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll find out, they'll see how much that person wants to tell them. And then they'll kind of go from there, is from what I've seen. They're good at it. The biggest thing is they make these children trust them. So they'll gain their trust and then they'll start asking for stuff. And then they'll start the threats and the coercion and things like that.
So what about here in Orange County? Is a lot of this based here in Orange County, or the predators, could they be kind of anywhere, but their victims might be here in Orange County? Honestly,
it's a little bit of both. The tips that I get in, most of them are that the suspect lives here. And then I also get cases from other jurisdictions out of state. I'm working one right now, actually out of Oregon, where the suspect lives here, but the victim is there. So all of the ICAC units, we work very close together. We know each other very well. We can send each other information. So it works real good.
So if you're just joining us, this is Detective Kim LaBonte. She's in our Sex Crimes Unit. We're talking about Safe Internet Day, which is today. If you have any questions for her, put them in the comments below. We'll get to those questions as soon as we can, but I got a whole list of questions here for you. You mentioned sextortion.
Yes.
How prevalent is that?
We've seen a rise in it. It's not just me that works it. The whole Sex Crimes Unit gets cases like this that they work, and they do an excellent job at, investigating these, finding the suspect, getting confessions, getting all the devices that they're using in those cases. But personally, I've seen a rise in it, and I don't want to blame it on the pandemic or anything, but I feel like a lot of more people are at home. They don't want to go out, so they're using the internet more.
Plus you have kids that are maybe not in school, or they're back probably now, but for the last 2 years they might have been doing online school. Exactly. And you're between classes, maybe you're going on your Instagram feed, and you might just have more opportunity for these things. So how does the sheriff's office sort of fight back against this?
Well, we not only have the sex crimes unit
Mhm.
working these cases that are reported, and like I said, social media platforms report these to me, and I investigate those to the fullest that I can. We also have undercover chat operations that will go in and will actually be proactive in trying to find these people
Mhm.
and see if they'll follow through
Yeah,
and make
yeah.
the arrest on that.
And actually, I was part of one of those things last year. I went out
Yes.
and shot some video of it. We'll post that video in the comments after we're done. But yeah, you sort of watch the whole operation where there's a team of detectives chatting online with people, and the people on the other end, they want to meet an underage, usually girl, I'd
Yes.
say, for sex, and so they'll arrange a meeting spot, and they show up with interesting things with
Yes.
them, and generally they meet a lot of detectives
Yes.
and deputies when they show up at this location.
It's
So
definitely not an underage girl.
no. So no, we are. I say we. The sheriff's office is very proactive when it comes to underage sex and online predators here in Orange County. So yeah, if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And I'm here with Detective Kim LaBonte from the Sex Crimes Unit. So you've been doing this. How long have you been doing this?
I've been in this position for about a year.
Okay, all right. And so even in that year, have you seen things sort of change over time?
I've honestly seen a rise
Mhm.
in when I first started, the amount of tips to what I'm getting now, and the cases that we're getting. I've definitely seen a rise in it, and then more of the sextortion type cases that have like the coercion and the threatening in them with these underage girls.
What's it like? So let's say you start investigating one, and the parents come in and you start working it. What's it like sort of working that case? And then hopefully there's a good outcome at the end, maybe arresting the person that was
Yeah.
on the other end. What's it like doing that?
Honestly, when I talk to the victim, the child, it's hard talking to them sometimes because they don't want to tell you everything. They're embarrassed, they're scared. So sometimes it's hard getting information. And of course, every teenager doesn't want to give me their phone, but that's usually part of it. But once we find all the messages, we write all, search warrants that we need to and all that, it usually has a good outcome.
And when you go sort of arrest the people, I mean, what do they say? I mean, the suspect in the case, what do they usually say?
It was a joke, or someone hacked my phone. That's usually a big thing. Someone hacked my phone. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not me. Oh, I was just joking. Things like that.
Yeah.
They feel like if they're not with them, and then it's just over the internet, that it's not a big deal.
So we got a question from Tiffany. Thank you, Tiffany. If you have a question for Detective LaBonte here, put it in the comments. How about OCPS? Do they have a program for awareness to let kids know that there's dangers out there online?
So I'm not sure about OCPS. However, we do have our school resource officers.
Okay.
That are very knowledgeable in all of the school programs. That I'm sure every school has a different kind of program that they will present. So if whatever school that their child goes to, I would definitely approach the school resource officer, and they can always contact me too.
So how would somebody contact you?
Through the school resource.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah. So if you go to elementary school or middle school or high school, likely there's an SRO there. There's a school resource officer, especially here in Orange County. That's what they're there for. They're there to protect the kids, but also sort of be a friend when there's situations like this. And so they can tell them, and then that person will tell you, and then you can go investigate.
Yeah, and they can call. They know they can call a detective at any time. So.
So what about parents? I mean, how should parents be proactive to keep their kids protected?
So my biggest advice is keep the communication open. Again, don't get mad at your child. Don't judge them. Really listen to them and make sure that they're comfortable talking to you about this, because it's going to be a very uncomfortable situation for them to talk to.
Well, what about before that happens, though? There's got to be tips on keeping kids safe before anything like that could even happen.
There's tons of parental control applications on phones, tablets, or whatever you have out there. It's learning how to use those. A lot of parents that I talk to, they don't know what applications their child's downloading. They don't even know how to get into their device. So it's very important to familiarize yourself with what devices, what applications your kids are using, how they're downloading it, In my opinion, the kids shouldn't even know the password to download the stuff. They should have to bring it to you, and you can download so you can really see what they're looking at.
And there's apps that can do that. I think
Yes.
you mentioned.
Yep.
Same with like passwords, like
Yes.
for like the Wi-Fi in the house.
Yep.
Like I think I saw a video that you did, which is up on our Facebook right now. You mentioned maybe the parent is the only one who knows the password in the
Yes.
house.
So that when they, if the child wants to get on the internet, they have to come to you for the Wi-Fi password. So you know when they're getting on. And then again, there's so many parental controls out there. It just depends on what's good for your family. Some block everything and tell you exactly what they're doing. Some will allow them at least some, access to some stuff on there.
I'm sure you get this question a lot. I'm actually not a parent. I don't have any kids, but I'm sure you get this question. Is there a right age to have your first cell phone? Because my first cell phone was I was probably 18, and I think you mentioned this before we started this, and we used to play Snake on it.
Yes.
And so phones have changed a little bit in the last 15, 20 years. So is there an appropriate age, you think, for kids to get their first phone?
I honestly think it all depends on the family and how their dynamic is. If you have complete open communication with your child, if, you trust them and you set certain boundaries and rules that both of you agree on, it could be any age you want. So, I've seen young kids have them just because they're at school and they want to make sure they can reach their parents or the parents can reach them. But there's certain controls on there that the kid knows that they're not supposed to do, and they both agree on it. So.
Yeah. Okay, we got another question from Jessica here. What parental control apps do you recommend?
I actually don't have any recommendations.
Okay.
Sorry. The biggest thing is going on. You can go onto the App Store, just type in parental controls, and you can read the reviews, and then you can read what they do and what works for your family. So what works for mine may not work for yours, because I want to block text messages, but you don't. Or I want to see how many minutes they're on the internet, but your family may not care about that. So go through them and just see what works for you.
And I'm sure there's other, you could Google that too.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's a lot of recommendations. There's a million mommy blogs out there that could probably recommend some good apps for that.
And there's also some that are installed on your computer, not on like a mobile device, that can then be put onto the mobile device. And some of them, that mobile device won't even tell you it's on there. So it depends on what you're looking for.
I'm sure kids today are way more technically advanced than maybe you and I were at their age.
They are.
So they can, I don't want to say they're going to get around them, but they know these things. And so you have to be proactive as well as parents.
Yes. And just, tell them that you're doing it. Putting this on there for your safety. This is what could happen if you don't use it. Be open with them, because when they're going to be curious, and if you let them know what could happen, they may not do it.
So if you're just joining us, this is Detective Kim LaBonte. She is with the Sex Crimes Unit here at the Sheriff's Office. Today is Safer Internet Day. If you have any questions for Detective LaBonte, put them in the comments below. We're answering your questions. Today is our live Q&A for this. I appreciate you coming in.
Yep, no worries.
This is a very important topic, and I know there's a lot of parents out there that they think about this because they might be at work or their kids are at school, and there's a whole world out there online. This is things that parents didn't really have to deal with 20, 30, 40 years ago.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. And so going back to your job, what do you enjoy about your job?
What do I enjoy? Besides putting the bad guy in jail?
Yeah. That's always the answer when I talk to deputies.
Especially for this kind of crime.
Yeah.
I very much enjoy that. Honestly, one of the best moments I've had recently was a young child was posting a photo of herself on a social media platform that was of themselves nude. Parent did not know about it. So I went and met with the family and we talked about it. They had no idea about anything that had to do with mobile devices. So I sat down with them and for almost 2 hours and discussed everything, went through the child's iPad, showed them what to do. They were just so thankful. So that was really nice that I could help them maybe feel a little safer about what their child's doing online.
When you're working with families, is it mostly kids? And when I say kids, like younger kids that this is happening to, or is it teenagers?
It's both.
Oh, it's both. Okay. All right.
Yes.
And hold on one second. Any more questions? If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. We're chatting with Detective LaBonte today. Today's Safer Internet Day. You talked about some advice. What about things that you've learned? You've done this for a year now, and I know that's not a long time, but I'm sure you've learned a few things over the course of the year. What have you learned about, I guess, your job and the internet as well?
I have learned nothing is private on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Chats, photos, anything is definitely not private. Anything you put out there, even if you think is out there. Location stuff too. If you don't turn off certain location services, geotagging, people can find where you're at on there.
Explain that a little bit for folks.
I'm not,
okay.
I don't know it a lot,
Mhm.
but certain photos, if you know or have certain programs, it can tell you where that photo was taken. It can give you coordinates on where the photo was taken if you know and are tech savvy like that. So that was something I learned, where you need to make sure about your photos. If you're sending them to someone, if they're savvy like that, they can actually see how you took it with what kind of device and also where. So
we have another question from Jessica. What's the youngest age victim you've ever seen?
With the sextortion stuff, around 8 or 9.
Okay.
I see on the other side of stuff with the tips that I get with the child exploitation. I mean, I unfortunately see every age. So that goes down to very young.
How do you deal with that?
I have great friends, good family support. I have a child also, so I am protective.
Yeah.
We'll say.
And I asked that because we said this at the beginning, a lot of people who work in law enforcement, they've told me, like, I would never want that job because I don't want to have to see that stuff and then go home and just process it and then go back the next day and see it all over again. But as you said earlier, I think it's because that is your way to help these kids.
Yes. And also talking about it, if something bothers me, I will talk about it with a trusted person. So you don't bottle it up if something's bothering you, that's for sure.
So if there's a teenager out there or even a child out there that's watching this, or a parent, what sort of message would you give to them?
I would say, again, for teenagers, if someone or something on the internet, if you're talking to someone and it doesn't feel right, it's probably a red flag. No one should be asking you for money. No one should be asking you for explicit photos, especially after you've told them your age. If something's kind of too good to be true, just tell someone. It's not your fault. You're not going to get in trouble for it. And it's kind of just being careful on there, and don't accept people you don't know as friends on social media. There's no reason for it.
Yeah, I think Attorney General Ashley Moody was here the other day at the sheriff's office, and she mentioned that one of her tips to her kids, and tell me if this is right or not, she said, if you don't know them in real life, it's not a good idea to friend them in the internet world.
Completely agree. There's no reason for, especially a child who puts their age on their profile, or they have pictures where they're obviously underage, for an older person or someone just random to friend them if they don't know them from school. Why would they just randomly be friending you? And a lot of them, unfortunately, pretend that they're teenagers or young kids to gain the trust of them. So that's another thing, is how would this person even know you, and why would they friend you if really they're 13 years old, say, So
we have another question from Michael. This goes back a little bit. We talked about your role in Sex Crimes Unit, but how long had you been at the sheriff's office before you started in sex crimes?
Almost 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were in list them again?
I was on the road when I first started, and then I went to the robbery unit, and then the violent crimes persons unit, and then sex crimes.
Okay. All right. So we had another question. If you have a question, put it in the comments below. We're going to get to as many as we can. If we don't get to your question, we'll try to answer them later today. And hopefully Detective LaBonte can stick around and help us answer those. So this question's from Tiffany. Do you find that kids do they share these situations with their friends, or do they stay silent about it? Do they talk to their friends about what's happening, or do they try to keep it in?
I've actually found that they only tell really close friends. Especially if it's a case where they're meeting and they met an older person, or they're sending these photos. I've actually found they keep it pretty silent. So it's, again, important to set rules in your home where, maybe they only charge their phone in the kitchen, at night. They don't take their phone in their room when they're alone, or if they are in their room, the door is open. things like that. So you can kind of not snoop, of course.
Yeah. Well, but you're a
kind
parent.
of.
I mean, I'm not a parent, but you're a parent. I mean,
Yes, it's it's trying to get that fine line of them trusting you, but also you're going to go through their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what parents do sometimes.
Exactly.
It's you have to do that.
It's setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I think we're going to wrap it up. But if you have questions, feel free to put them below. We're going to try to answer those with Detective LaBonte here. As I mentioned, today is Safer Internet Day. We appreciate you chatting with us about all this. It's a very important topic, and we hope you stay safe out there. But thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next time.